Well, hello and welcome. I'm very excited that you're joining us for this week's panel conversation. The topic on the agenda today is maintaining a sense of community in a socially distanced world. My name is Matt Fulton. I'm the Vice President for National Engagement with a company called Polco, which specializes in helping communities build stronger engagement and track performance from a resident's perspective. We have a really excellent panel to share their perspectives today. And we're going to be talking about the challenges that communities have in just facing the challenge of engagement during this kind of weird time and weird cycle that we're living in through the pandemic and COVID-19. We're really interested in learning about the creative ways that they're maintaining and building engagement in their communities for the benefit of sharing it with others. We hope that you pick up a new idea, a new perspective. We'll be sharing these ideas and perspectives with others so that others can benefit from what these three community leaders are doing in their particular communities. Here's the agenda today. We will take a few minutes to do some panel introductions, and then I'll kick off the conversation asking some questions that draw out the perspectives from these community leaders on how they're getting resident input on important community issues. And then as we move towards the latter part of the presentation, there'll be an opportunity for the panelists to ask each other questions, and we'll see if there's any other questions that come in from the outside and respond to them. And if that sounds okay, we will go ahead and introduce our panelists. I'm really pleased that we have the three panelists in front of us. Our first panelist is John J.J. Murphy, who's the city manager in Palmdale, California. JJ's been in public service for almost 30 years. He was actually named the New Mexico City Manager of the Year in 2016 while he served in the city of Hobbs. In our leadership roles in local government, we all recognize the importance of building local environments that are vibrant and high quality of life. And JJ has taken that to a higher level with his leadership in developing strong public and private partnerships and building facilities and amenities that do just that. The Rockwind Community Links, a nationally recognized golfing development, and the Center of Recreational Excellence, which is also a significant economic generator for the entire region. JJ has been a featured speaker and writes for various publications. And one of the things that's really impressive is JJ's public service also includes serving as a major in the U.S. Air Force Reserves, where he's managing command and control centers in Africa, Haiti, and in the United States at the Air Force Rescue Coordination Center. JJ has been recognized as an ICMA credentialed manager, which is excellent, and also has a distinct recognition of receiving a certificate in public leadership for completing 3 leadership programs at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. JJ, thank you so much for joining us today, and I would welcome you to share a little bit more about yourself.
Well, thank you very much. And 2 things have changed. I have retired from the Air Force, and my eyesight has gone, bad. So I now wear glasses since the official picture there. But yes, I have been blessed to serve in 3 dynamic communities across this country: Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, Hobbs, New Mexico, and now in Palmdale. And I really have committed a life to public service, and I believe local government is where the rubber meets the road, and I just love being a city manager.
Well, it's really great that you're able to join us today, so thanks for being here. Our second panelist is David Horn, who serves as a city council member in Decatur, Illinois. David is finishing up his first 4-year term on the city council and has indicated his intention to pursue another term coming up in a couple of months. As a former city manager, I have great respect for committed residents who serve and provide leadership to the community while also maintaining busy full-time professions. In addition to serving on the city council, David is a professor of biology at Millikan University, and he's an ecologist and co-founder of the Millikan Institute for Science Entrepreneurship. He previously served on the Board of Trustees of the Macon County Conservation District, as well as a member of the County Regional Planning Commission. David, thanks so much for you joining us today. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about you.
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. And I understand I'm one of the first elected officials to be a part. And so I hope to represent all of those elected officials well, so that you'll bring more of us to these events. But I'm very happy to be here. And one of the things that was really important to me as a resident of Decatur was just to become much more actively involved in the decision-making process at the city level, just so that there'd be an opportunity to really help the 70,000 residents of Decatur.
That's great, Dave. I really appreciate you being here as an elected leader and sharing your perspectives on this engagement topic. And our third panelist is Sony Paranal. Sony has over 5 years of experience in local government and is currently serving in the city of Corpus Christi, Texas, as the assistant for the city manager. Sony was hired as a performance management administrator for the Strategic Planning and Innovation Office. And during his time in leading this important municipal function, Sony has led several citywide initiatives that have been focused on creating stronger community vibrancy on the Bayfront, as well as improving internal organizational efficiency and excellence. Sony, as we all work our way through this pandemic, I think the skill sets that you bring to the table are critical for helping move communities forward. So thanks for taking a little bit of time out of your day and sharing your perspectives. Would you mind just sharing a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, no, thank you. So education-wise, my background is actually in urban and regional planning. So I grew up in Orlando and went to the University of Central Florida. So in there, I did various stints with just internships involving planning, economic development. So in those facets, it involves a lot of community engagement, a lot of partnerships, private-public partnerships, and it's very important to see the way the community receives information to then make an informed decision. So taking that all the way up to what we have now as the COVID-19 pandemic, it's the same thing. Now it's just finding new ways to keep the public engaged and well-informed, so that collectively, as we work with city officials and county officials, that we go out and make the best decisions for the public. So thank you for being here, or thank you for having me here.
That's great, Sony. Thank you so much. So let's start kind of diving into the topic. You know, COVID-19 has totally disrupted any sense of normalcy that any of our communities have historically enjoyed, not only from a community perspective, but also internally as an organization, and all of the adjustments that local governments have had to make just simply to maintain the delivery of services. But given this totally unsettled environment, it just seems that it's more important to maintain a sense of community and a meaningful connection with your residents and your community stakeholders. We need to understand what their needs are, what their expectations are, particularly as their lives have been totally disrupted. And of course, people are connected most at the local level. And so having this engagement piece be connected with the importance of maintaining a sense of community just becomes a more important thing to be paying attention to. You know, the pandemic presents a lot of challenges. And so we really have focused today's conversation on how do you engage residents in a meaningful way that is going to allow them to feel like their voices are being heard and that they're feeling part of a community that is meeting their particular needs. One way maybe to start this conversation is to take a look at the problem. You know, engagement, even in the best of times, is a difficult challenge for local governments to achieve in making meaningful connections with their residents. It's probably not surprising to learn. Our research has shown that 80% of US adults have actually never even been to a city council meeting. And there's a lot of good reasons for it. People's lives are busy. Traditional public engagement can be somewhat daunting for folks. There are unnecessary barriers, like when councils meet. There just are those kind of typical challenges that make it difficult for residents to get involved. It's not unusual for meetings or important local projects to really not be well attended by residents. So even before COVID started, we've had this issue about how do you maintain effective engagement. Now, of course, people are socially distanced and everything is meeting remotely. People are homeschooling their kids, and it just becomes an even important obstacle and barriers in front of people to ensure that you're having good engagement. They're having to adapt to a brand new world. So we understand that the pandemic has significantly impacted residents' lives, and the community's future, of course, is directly tied into having that connection. And so what are communities doing to maintain that sense of community with all of these barriers in front of us? So here are the 3 questions that we're going to start exploring. And I'm going to be very interested in getting everybody's perspective on these topics. Here are the questions. How has your communications and engagement strategy evolved since the beginning of the pandemic? How does resident engagement influence your success in maintaining a sense of community? And which tools do you currently use to measure feedback from a resident's perspective during these challenging times? Let's start with the first question. And if you don't mind, JJ, let's start with you. How has your communications and engagement strategy evolved since the beginning of the pandemic in Palmdale?
I think what we did is we had to start more outreach in this socially distanced environment. I can't tell you if I was on five Zoom calls in my life before the pandemic started, or Teams meetings. And now that's what happens, but that doesn't reach everybody. So what we did is we started town halls where we invited people to come out. In early April, after looking at some of the data on suicides and how this pandemic was affecting the mental health, we started in April monthly mental health town halls that anybody in the community can join on to share our resources with the community. And they've been well attended. We bring in experts every month. So we're trying to push information out that not necessarily local governments were involved in before. We did outreach to our local leaders where we're having town halls, meetings with all denominations in our religious community. And what we heard is they were having a disconnect with their flock because they couldn't meet. So what did we do? For the first time, the city opened up our center square for all these religious groups to come and have their services in an open air environment at the center of our city. And it's going well. We've had 2 weekends of service, and we're just trying to change the narrative. And as people sit home and wonder what's next, we are going to try to stay active. And our strategy has been to do these reach out town halls. We've had one for the small business community. It's easy to sit in City Hall and try to create what the CARES Act money and what we're going to do with it. We have a lot of great ideas in City Hall, but we went out to the front lines to talk to the small business community to hear, you know, as a city manager, I thought, hey, it would be great to, if these businesses opened up, they'd have to require PPE. And if they did that, then and hand sanitizers. Well, that sounded like a good idea. But when we did this small business town hall, small businesses were having a hard time acquiring the PPE. So we changed decisions based on the feedback we heard. We created a Palmdale Community Renaissance Plan that's been borrowed by over 15 communities, mostly in California.